How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
Interesting at Lucknow now, where the home team, after being put into bat, have reached 200 on what looks like a surface that might be enough. That's the question that we'll ask of the panel here on Maruti Suzuki Arena. Presents ESPN Cricket Info Timeout. Mark Boucher, Sanjay Bangar, and ESPN Cricket Info's Dustin Silgardo. I think everybody went in the 170, 180 range, didn't we? Yeah. Does that mean this is now an above par score, Mark Boucher?
I think so. I think it's a very good total, especially on that pitch. I don't think it's as flat as what we may think it is. I think we saw enough up and down movement to create a few doubts. I think there was some good batsmanship there by the LSG guys.
Yeah, batsmanship is a word that's been lacking in a number of first innings, Sanjay Bangar, in these, say, last week or so games where teams were unable to pick out gears. But did we see that today from the likes of Aiden Markram, Mitch Marsh, even Ayush Badoni?
Yeah, I mean, more so that batsmanship part, you can clearly relate to how Aiden Markram batted, yes, as well as Ayush Badoni. Because batting in the middle overs, especially after the ball got softer and lost its sheen, and the kind of balls that were used by Mumbai Indians, they certainly had to work hard for their runs once the ball went out of the power play or so.
Yeah, I think for Markram, Markram's knock is probably the slowest or second slowest 50 of this IPL in terms of strike rate. But do you think that's what was necessary on this pitch and from the game situation?
Yeah, I think so. Look, Aiden's also, he's been lacking a few runs. So he knew that he had to go out there and score runs today. And I think this particular ground, it wasn't, I mean, you saw at the back end there, it's obviously quite difficult to clear the inner ring and hit the ball in the air for sixes. He kept the ball on the ground for as long as what he could. And I think there's a bit of grit there behind that innings as well. He lost a couple of wickets around him, but he kept on being the guy there to go out there and do the hard yards.
Yeah, I mean, we say second slowest because you're a mean man.
No, sometimes that's required. Yeah. A lot of people don't score 50s Correct. At all.
Yeah, that's true, but the stats don't apply the context, perhaps, of today's game, especially when he was, what, 6 of 7 at one stage when Mitch Marsh had almost touched 50. You sense we've been critiquing or at least trying to analyse whether Markram is best use of their fourth overseas mark, and you sense for a day like this is why you keep an Aiden Markram in your T20 IPL side, even if you have other batters?
Yeah, he's a 3-format player, so he understands conditions. He's getting to that experienced sort of stage now where, you know, he's a captain of South Africa as well at certain stages. So he'll be the perfect guy up front there to have a look at the pitch and give a message back to the dressing room that this is how we're going to have to play in these conditions. So I think he probably would have done that. You sort of saw a conversation between him and Puran, where he was maybe struggling to rotate strike a bit. I think he had about 16 of 16 balls at that stage. And there was good communication with him and Puran. That obviously was, let's not give it away here. Unfortunately, Puran got out just after that. Yeah. But Markram then took it upon himself to be the guy that bats through the majority of the innings, and the other guys could come in and play innings around them, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I guess the Puran wicket also showed us why the surface was challenging. The first of Hardik Pandya's 5 wickets today, and that's the first 5 for, we'll talk about the Mumbai Indians captain in a while, but if Puran in this kind of form was deceived that way, what does it tell us about this surface? What kind of surface is it?
Well, cross seam is going to be very effective on this surface. Slow bounces are going to be effective, and the way Hardik used the long boundaries as well, because that's a plan which even Zahir and the bowlers from LSG would want to use. So clearly, I mean, there is enough, and once you lack that sort of a pace, maybe a Shardul is a clever operator, and so is Avesh Khan, is an experienced player, so they would certainly make this target a really challenging one to score down.
Yeah, I think just to illustrate that as well, I think 7 of Mitch Marsh's 10 or 11 boundaries were mid-off and covers. Right. So clearly that's when the bowlers were bowling a bit fuller, but as soon as that length is shorter, it was tougher to score. So maybe that's something that the LSG bowlers can take away from that innings, that they can be a little bit shorter right from the start, digging it into the pitch, as you were saying.
Yeah, let's go into that. Whether Mumbai would be thinking, well, how are we given 200 away? Hardik clearly was very hard to get away, almost till the last over, which was a little expensive, therefore 5 for 36. But do you sense MI didn't quite adjust to how you need to bowl on this surface with the kind of score we're now seeing?
I think they maybe adjusted it slightly late. You know, they got it right in the middle. As I said, I think it was good batsmanship. You know, there are times where you can panic and just carry on trying to hit the ball in the air, and that wasn't the case tonight until the sort of back end. But I think, LSG would have picked up a way of how to bowl, but I think that Mumbai would also look at the way that they got 200, LSG. And maybe they'll have the conversation that, guys, it's going to take a different sort of batting effort and unit to get to that score. Let's keep the ball on the ground and let's do some hard yards in the middle.
Hardik, 5 wickets. Perfect pitch for him as well?
I mean, he used the conditions beautifully. He's been bowling really well, in control of the lines that he's bowled, and he's picked up some big wickets, right from Shubman Gill to Nicholas Pooran and Pant as well. So he's clearly at the peak of his game. Of course, Pant is out of sorts, but his choice of deliveries were excellent. As also he bowled across phases, not necessarily in the middle phase, which again increases the probability of you picking up more wickets than you usually do.
He's not bowling in the power play this year, Mark. He did bowl at the death today. What can you tell us about, say, how Hardik likes to go about his own bowling when he's captain, with your experience?
Yeah, look, Hardik loves the new ball. He likes to see the ball swinging around. I remember having a conversation with him last year where I said, we need a seamer to bowl after the power play, not necessarily at the death. And he, he's got the attributes to be able to do that. He hits good lengths. He's quite a smart bowler as well. But he's got a really good change of pace, and he's got the rolling of the wrist. So, he took upon himself to say, right, that's the challenge, and let me do that. And it's good to see that he's out there. He's taking those overs upon himself now, and those are sometimes the overs where sort of the game gets away from you. And he's a wicket taker. He's a natural wicket taker, and he's picking up wickets in the middle part of the game, which is crucial for MI to bowl teams out and also keep the totals down.
Yeah. What I'm curious about is, why is it that spinners don't find themselves as effective on these off-pace sort of wickets, and it's the fast bowlers who bowl off-pace? Mitch Santner's most expensive IPL spell, none for 46. Vignesh Puttur bowled quite well, but what can you tell us about the role that spin will play and how the MI spinners bowled today?
See, on such surfaces, I think it's more the finger spinners who can bowl into the surface are far more effective. So if you are looking to toss up the ball, like number of sixes that went were balls which was loopy balls. So you don't really require loopy balls to be bowled by spinners. So if they can, maybe this is a perfect pitch for somebody like a Jadeja, who can just, let the surface give you the assistance rather than...
Santner not capable of bowling like that?
I think he bowled a little bit differently.
Right.
He was slightly slower for his liking, and that's where I think the conversation or the choice for Justin Langer and Rishabh Pant would be: do they go to Siddharth, or do they go to Bishnoi?
So also, I think Shabazz as well there for what it's worth, but I don't think he's in that league, as you say. But yeah, anything to add on the spin and the type of bowling that we saw from MI spinners today?
I'll let the experts talk about the spin. You guys know spin in these conditions. Yeah, there wasn't much that I picked up. I mean, obviously the youngster, he bowled really well, and he got some turn out of it as well. It's going to be interesting to see how LSG put their bowling lineup together. I mean, the last time a team got 200 against them, they didn't manage to defend it. Probably some strange strategies along the way. And now they're going to be put under pressure again. I mean, it's only one off the game that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
The wicket is good enough for MI to chase this down, but it's the bowling attack that's going to have to answer some questions now.
Yeah, I can't help but think, I know it's moot now. Every game they miss Bumrah. You think how well Bumrah might have done here. I mean, it's hardly a surface where you can't, but today, with what he can do on... You remember that World Cup final, don't you?
No.
In case you need any reminding.
What year are you talking about?
Our part of the world, you'll be reminded enough. But anyway, but just what a big miss, because you have Deepak Chahar, who if it's not swinging, or even Trent Bolt with all his experience, it's a big hole to fill.
He adds 20% to the Mumbai Indians team. There's no doubt about it. And when you talk about conditions, any conditions,
yes,
he is the best bowler in the world. It's quite simple.
They did okay at the death at least today. They gave away about 44 in the death. They were 159, I think, before the death.
Is that all that happened? It felt like more, didn't it?
No, I think LSG today had a really good power play, which is why they've got to this total. Actually, LSG, the whole tournament, the story has been kind of they've had very good power plays. Slowed down in the middle, as you'd expect. Their death batting has actually been the second slowest after Mumbai in the tournament. So even after those few sixes by David Miller at the death, they got 44.
Well, that's of the last 4.
They got the last 4.
57 in the last 5.
Yeah. So it's not bad, I'm saying, from where Mumbai were to pull it back. It was a decent death bowling effort.
I guess the key here is, you're right, 69 without loss. Not too many teams have gone wicketless in the power play. Can the opening batters of the second innings, Rickleton, and now we'll find out very soon who with him, expect to get that kind of start? We've seen power plays are so important in chases, Mark, but from what we're seeing in this wicket playing, will the new ball still be easy to score off? Is that the message you're giving the Mumbai openers?
I think if the bowlers give pace on, I think they'll probably try for a couple of overs to try to get the ball to swing. But then I think they're going to go to change of pace, as we saw the Mumbai Indians bowlers do. They're probably going to go a little bit earlier, which then might make things quite tough for Mumbai Indians.
I mean, that Marsh innings might prove to be more valuable than we imagined, because it allowed Lucknow to then drop a gear or two if need be. And we're seeing the best of Mitch Marsh after a long time. Sanjay Bangar, it's fair to say, even in 4 games, we haven't seen this from player who's captained the Australian team.
It's 3 IPL 50s from this season, and before this, he had 3 IPL 50s overall before this season. So he's already matched it in 4 games.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. I mean, it's not only about him staying on the ground for much longer, and then the choice that he made that he was not going to bowl clearly means that he's come in with the real purpose of making this one count. And a very, very, what should we say, a value buy for Lucknow, because at that price, if you get a player of that quality who's performing at the top of the order, it has gone LSG's way.
It could have been dismissed in the first over.
How did they not get that?
I've heard many times that Ryan Rickleton is the next Quinton de Kock. And yesterday, if you remember, Quinton de Kock was the only one appealing for that Heinrich Klaasen catch and didn't convince his captain he needed to review. So there's more of Quinton de Kock and Ryan Rickleton.
But no one heard it. Balchi didn't hear it?
Yeah.
So it's quite a surprise. They would have enjoyed it to have that one in the bag early doors.
I would have loved for you to play in the DRS era more, Mark Boucher, and seen whether you would have been more of an enforcer as a keeper. You weren't looking around there. You were taking matters in your own hands.
No, we were trying to put umpires under more pressure and that, but nowadays you can't get away with that.
Yeah, well, I remember Ian Chappell saying that the South African umpires were quite patriotic back in the day.
That's very rich coming from
Okay, on that note, let's try and figure what is Mumbai's best chance here. You said something interesting on whether Namandir could be batting top 3 today. Now, this kind of chase, what would be ideal if you had to set out your batting order in the absence of Rohit Sharma?
The batting order, I'd probably go with Rickleton and Jacks as the opening. Namandir, I'll keep it at 3. You don't want to mess too much with the order, so that'll be the one change that I would make. We see him there warming up, so I think I've got that right.
Right.
But yeah, usually the way that you break it down, as the stats guys will tell you, is that you try to get 31% of what the final total is in the power play.
Okay, let's work on that. Dustin,
so if you
quickly.
can get 31% of 200 is I think it's around about 60 runs.
Odd,
yeah. 60.
If they can get that with less than maybe 3 wickets down, then they stand a chance.
Key players for you to decide the fate of this game, Sanjay?
I was just going through the visuals, whether Bishnoi was part of that, what do we call it?
I believe he was in the huddle. Bishnoi was there.
He was in the huddle, so they're not going the left arm spin way, which will mean that they're going to bowl a lot of pace, at least 4 overs of pace, and Digvesh Rathi could be seen bowling in the power play. Yeah. So, I mean,
I wonder if Prince also could have been an option. You just want to add more seam, more pacers off pace. Prince bowls some good Yorkers.
But yeah, I mean, I can see the point of why LSG has gone to Bishnoi, because if there's one surface which could suit his style of bowling, this would be one wherein the ball staying a little bit low, hitting the pads, hitting the stumps. That's the best way to dismiss by the Bishnoi's way of bowling.
I'm just trying to see how many 200s we've had chased, because that's a conversation we tend to have in all this 240 and 220 and 250. I think we've said it on the panel before. Chasing 200, even in 2025, it's not as easy, is it? So you still back the team batting first?
Yeah, look, 200 is always going to be tough. And the reason why it's tough is you can get off to a good start, but you just have 1 or 2 bad overs with the bat, and your back's up against it again. So there needs to be a complete 20 overs of batting out by Mumbai Indians. I think they've got the players, absolutely. For me, it's about how well LSG use these conditions. Having seen what's been difficult, can they execute better than what they did in the first game
Sure,
when they were defending
sure.
200.
197, I believe, is the highest score successfully chased at the Ekkanna Stadium in Lucknow. And only Delhi Capitals managed to chase over 200 so far this season successfully.
But against Lucknow.
Against Lucknow, when it required an Ashutosh Sharma special at Vizag. All that considered, Surya is just so important, these surfaces. Let's see what predictions are like. And it looks like ESPN Cricket was forecast as 71% to Lucknow. It's not giving Mark Boucher's former franchise much of a chance. Let's see if Mark Boucher is giving his former franchise more of a chance.
I think at MI I've chased over 200 quite a few times in the last sort of 2-3 years. So they'll back themselves to do it.
Are you backing them?
I'm backing them.
Oh, took a second, just took a second. Sanjay Bangar.
Well, I'm looking at the way Surya Kumar Yadav bats or even Hardik bat. They don't like the ball stopping and coming, and even cutters. So GT actually explored that chink quite well in the game that they played against MI. So advantage LSG at this moment.
And okay, I think Sanjay Bangar says LSG should defend this. Dustin?
I'll also go with LSG to defend it, but I think it might be a close game.
Right. Then
We need a close game.
Yeah.
we need it. Therefore, you know what I'm going to
Raunak
say?
needs one.
You know what I'm going to say?
Super over.
Of course I'm going to say super over. We need a super over. We haven't had a close game in so long. Thank you very much, Dustin, Sanjay, Mark. Let's see who picks up the points, all important points in the IPL at this early stage when both teams have only picked up the solitary win. Join us for post-match analysis where we welcome your questions and comments as well on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout.
How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.